online, and then we can just go ahead and get started. Might be
Okay.
quiet here for the first minute while I'm just figuring out something to work with.
All right.
Okay, so already, my first question would be, what sensitivity are you working with in game?
I'll have to look.
Alrighty.
How do I unfull screen? There it is. Okay, stand by here. Let me get into the game.
Mm.
Oh, I'm not in the game. Let me get it up then.
Okay. And while you're getting that up, are you aware of what DPI you have, or yeah, I don't know if you know what that is.
I'm playing with a gaming mouse. It's a cheap gaming mouse. What's your question, Kayla?
DPI, dots per inch. So that's like your
Yeah.
sensitivity for your computer.
Oh, for the mouse? Are you talking about the in-game
Yeah.
setting, or what the mouse is
No,
by
so
hardware?
essentially what the mouse is by hardware. So that's the DPI. So it's basically
Yeah.
your sensitivity in anything that's outside of the game.
So I play. My mouse is nice enough. It has a DPI button.
Yeah.
And I could dial that, and I used to switch it all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, what I would do is when I was trying to move around, I would switch it up high, And then when I was trying to, like, when I was playing Soldier a lot, I would dial that down so I could aim a little more steadily. And I would sometimes hit that during a game, to change. Options. What was the question now, the first part?
So sensitivity and DPI.
Sensitivity and DPI. Controls, okay. Sensitivity is 15.6.
All right.
And
it's like 3.
Yours is like 3. That's crazy talk. All right. That would take me a while to get used to. I don't see a DPI in here.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in game. It would be outside of the game.
All right.
So that would be like in your settings if you went to like
a true 800 DPI mouse, or if it's a 1600 DPI mouse, that would be on the lower setting. Then it would probably be. You want to be on 400 DPI probably.
Thank you, Coach Tabugi.
So what did she say?
Where do you want me to check? That she was kind of
going into. So what mouse? What brand do you have?
Oh yeah, it's a cheapy Walmart.
Oh, okay. So
a gaming mouse. It's a black web.
So does it have any software on your computer that you had to download?
I'm not using it.
You're not using it? All right. So when you click your DPI button, it doesn't pop. There's nothing that pops up that says like what number it is.
No.
Okay.
No. It's pretty. This mouse is older. Well, yeah, it is older, but it's cheap enough. I think it's 3 settings. My old mouse, which was a Logitech gaming mouse, had 5.
All right, so I don't think that that's important enough to really take the time to go and search for it. But essentially, the point that I'm probably gonna go with here is that 15 sensitivity and like even no matter what your DPI is at, that's a very high sensitivity. Typically, when the general consensus among professional players is that when you're playing a character that requires precise aim, such as Zenyatta, then you want a lower sensitivity to be able to hit your shots a little bit easier, and so that you're not kind of going all over the place with your mouse.
Yeah,
and over adjusting. So of course, you're gonna have to get used to it, but lowering that down can help you a lot, and it's a lot of the time sensitivity is gonna be personal preference. So if you wanted to keep that, that's fine. There are some pros out there who do have higher end sensitivities, especially when you're talking about like tanks. But when it comes to Zenyatta, my recommendation would probably be to lower that down pretty far. But then the other thing you have to you have to make sure they have a larger mouse pad, because if you have a small one, then you don't actually have room to move around with your mouse.
It's so funny you should mention that, because I got a larger mouse pad just yesterday.
Well, there you go. Well, that would work out perfectly.
What happened was I'm lounging around. We got Miss Earhart a new mouse pad, a huge one that has to be unrolled. and her old one was laying there, and I'm like, I'm going to take this. And she goes, go ahead. So I've got her old Diva mouse pad, which is about 11 by 14.
All right, well, that sounds perfect. Yeah, you'd definitely be able to use that. You can mess around with new sensitivities, whenever you want to, but, let's take the rest of this time to go over some more stuff. All right, but so you can see here, kind of like just with our general aim, this is like the first thing that like I noticed and why I was asking about the sensitivity. Like we kind of did a little bit of like a kind of swing, which just shows me that it's a little bit hard to control our movement. So you'll see right when they're about to walk in, if I slow this down, we kind of like swing back and forth with our shots here. All right, where is happening? Right there. Right, kind of where you like go left and then you over adjust into the wall on the right. So that's why I asked about it. So let's just continue on. Alrighty, so already it's looking like we're gonna go over 2 main points if we just exit out here and go back to the training range. So we're gonna go over positioning and crosshair placement. So essentially we're gonna go over positioning first here. Positioning, we're gonna do kind of a quick example here. So if we're standing right here and there's a bunch of enemies standing over here, right, and they're all shooting at us, 6 enemies shooting at us, it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now we can't get shot at, right? We're safe here. They can't shoot at us while we're behind an object, a solid object. So that means that we're safe now. But in that time it took us to walk here, we ended up dying. So therefore, bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? But when we're behind cover, right, or next to cover, sorry, when we're next to cover, that means that we start getting shot at. In half a second, we can do this, and now they can't see us, right? So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover. And there's a bunch of different types of cover that you can use, right? You can use something like that. You can use a slope, right? They can see us. Now they can't see us. We can use pillars in between shots. We can reload behind pillars. We can use it when we're low HP or getting shot at. We use corners. Corners are a really big one. So something like this.
All right. And you just didn't think I was close enough to the corner to constitute
Yeah, exactly. Cover. Yep. So when we were looking at the last play, we weren't really close enough to the corner to be able to run away once we started getting shot at.
Right. My thinking was I would move in and out on the side, but it doesn't matter. I'm too far out. I'm in the no man's land.
Yep, exactly.
As, Smarty Pants here pointed out.
Yep. Out in the open, which just makes you, the further and further away you get away from something, the easier it is to get shot at, right? You can use objects, you can use a payload like this, corner, pillar, corner, doorway, corner. Right? We can go over high ground real quick. I haven't seen much of high ground use yet because we just started, but all of high ground acts as natural cover when we're up here. In half a second, they can see us, now they can't see us. They can see us, now they can't see us, right? Because we had a crouch too. On top of that, people can't get up to us on high grounds, right? So like half the characters in the game can't reach us, and then the half that can reach us have to use abilities, in which case we can like drop to our team, or like run away to our team. So that adds on survivability as well. And then the third thing that high ground gives us is, in half a second, like 1 second we can be over here, shooting at this side of the map, and then the next second we can be over here on this side of the map, right? So it gives us a ton of visibility. Okay. Now, second thing we're going to go over here is... Oh, he's shoving me to the side. Second thing we're going to go over here is called crosshair placement. So crosshair placement is placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the easiest shots. Essentially, the big thing that we're going to go over here, and probably one of the best main points of crosshair placement in general, is you want to make sure that you're continuously aiming head level. When we aim body level, which is where I was noticing that we were aiming when we were just kind of shooting down the choke, which I like that we were shooting down choke. That was really good. But when we're aiming at body level, that means that to hit headshots, which are very obviously, they do more damage, right? 3 shots versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots, right? Doing a lot more damage and getting a lot more kills and ult charge. That means that to hit headshots, we have to adjust further, so our crosshairs go further. And the further our crosshair has to go, the harder that shot is to hit. So if we're aiming head level, this means that the shots are now easier for us to hit because there's a lot less adjustment, right?
So I could tell you something that I know is affecting the way I play this in real life, that I do in real life that affects the way I play. And that's all my firearms training is. You want solid body shots.
Yes,
You want the bullet on the target. You want the bullet on the target, no matter what. And so that I know that's something that affects my psyche. I center that crosshair on my target and start pumping. And if I get an opportunity for a headshot, I bump it up. But your point is valid. For the game, it needs to be, you need to focus on headshots.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I completely understand the idea behind body shots in, in a real life situation.
Right.
Yeah, but in a game where there is none of that, like, real actual pressure to make sure that you kill them, right? Then we want to make sure that we're hitting headshots because that's just the more effective method of doing something.
Right.
So the other thing that this does for us is it just means, like, we're shooting on choke or we're shooting at shields. All of our spam shots, which then is a very spammy character. He does a lot of just output, right? All of our spam shots now, we're just shooting down the quarter. All these shots are now just hitting headshots rather than these body shots. We just are spamming down this quarter, and now we're just naturally hitting headshots just because we're already aiming there.
Yeah.
Right? Same concept. We saw him go right side. We know he's coming back. We can charge up a right click. We're aiming a little bit, we're aiming a little bit away from the wall, right, to give us some time to react. But we're essentially placing our crosshair where we know they're going to be. They're on our left here, so we're pre-aiming left, already at head level, or right side now. Pre-aiming right side, already at head level. So when we turn, we're already aiming at their head, right? Same thing over here.
Now, you don't miss more because you're aiming at their head.
So the thing is, you will miss little tiny bit more, right? But the thing is that's made up from the damage that you're outputting. On top of that, you want to almost train yourself to get used to aiming for headshots rather than just going for body shots. Like if you ask a professional player, like, hey, why don't you go for body shots? Because you might, end up missing the headshots, right? Well, they're just going to respond to you saying, well, headshots do more damage, so why practice going for body shots when I could do more damage while hitting headshots? So
for me, the answer is to that. Well, it's because I've had hundreds of hours of training with a real firearm.
Yes, exactly.
Pointed at the middle of the chest. Go on.
Yeah. So
get used to aiming at the headshot.
Yes, exactly. Yep, I've definitely heard that argument before from people, and usually it's from people who aren't as mechanically skilled, and they say, "Well, maybe I just can't hit the shots," right? But the thought behind it as well is that when we're aiming at head level, it's just all our default shots that we would have hit on bodies anyways are now just hitting their heads because we're already aiming there, right?
Right.
So most of our shots, are going to be hitting them.
I see that you're hitting all headshots. I was just telling her that back when you were just goofing, just when you were started the demonstration before you even started on cursor placement. It was all your shots were headshots.
Yep. Alrighty, so getting back here. So when we end up dying here, we just can see this in the replay. We're just very far away from cover, right? The nearest bit of cover would probably be this corner right here. Right? If we're right here, they can't see us, right? So that means we're just a lot safer. Here we can't really go anywhere, and then that just results in us taking a whole lot of damage, right? And you can see that we were even moving towards cover, which is good. It was just we were already too far away, which meant that we ended up dying.
Right.
The cycle begins anew.
Okay.
All right, good.
The other two died, so I'm just like, I'm done.
Yep, good. That's a good decision. I would have commented on it if you didn't do that.
Yeah, everybody's dead. I'm out of here.
Nope. Okay, whenever you cannot see somebody, so this applies to the very beginning of the game before they like walk past the choke, or when we're waiting right here. These are opportunities where we could be charging up right clicks. So so your right click, essentially what's good about it, like kind of the difference between them is right click is used anytime that you cannot actively see somebody, because when you can, then that means that when you can see somebody, then you're getting a big burst of damage. But your
You
left,
let it rip.
yep, exactly, right. But your left click is a little bit more consistent output. So when you can see somebody, that's when you're left clicking. So that was really good when you're at the choke point and you could just spam down the corridor and shoot everybody. But right here, we want to be charging that up so that we can actually shoot people. You know, let's say somebody just walked around this corner. We already want to have a right click charged up to hit them.
Especially since I know where they're going to come from. I know, you know, I have a good chance of somebody coming through that walkway right there.
Yep. Okay, so far it's looking like orbs are pretty decent.
Orbs are pretty decent. Earhart, you hear that? No. So I'll blab on her just a little bit.
Just why?
Oh, she doesn't want me to tell you yet. Okay.
Why?
I talked to Coach Kayla about it first. Go on, it's fine.
So to start off the fight,
you can come back. She laughed. I didn't mean to make her leave. Go ahead.
Unfortunate. So to start off here, it looks like we put a little bit of a distance in between us and the fight. So the problem with this is Zenyatta is a medium range character. It's not that he's incapable of playing at a close range or he's incapable of playing at a long range because he doesn't have fall off with his shots, right? He does the same amount of damage anywhere he's at.
And there's no arc.
Exactly, right? The big problem when it comes to it, though, is the accuracy. The further away we're putting ourselves, the harder it's going to be to actually hit those shots, right? If you're,
the target's smaller in relationship to your position.
Exactly, right? So we want to be a little bit closer here to start off. It does look like we move closer. This is a much better position than we were before there. When you cannot see something, I'd probably recommend, for example, right here is another situation where we can't see something. Probably stop with the spam shots. This way we're conserving ammo. We can, essentially right here, this is just kind of wasted time. So we could be doing two main things with this time, or even three things. We could be reloading so that we actually have shots when there's something to shoot at. We could be right-clicking so that when we can see something, we do a big burst of damage. Or we could be using this time to apply orbs. Instead, what we do is we just we apply some orbs, but then you see we just kind of keep spamming at some walls here, right? Gotta make sure, and then now we can actually see something. So we want to make sure that we're using our time a little bit efficiently there. Go ahead.
And what I'm trying to do there is catch people peeking, but I get your point because one of my self-criticisms is that I need to get more precise and less spammy.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing here.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah,
you'll see it as we continue. Go on.
All right, so let's skip a little bit here because we. All right. So again, finding yourself a little bit away from the cover there.
I welcome adversity.
Yeah, I like that we're backing up. That's good, but then again, caught out kind of out in the open, right? Not really near much cover, which just results in our second death. If this continues to be a trend, that's, an easy way to... Deaths are a very big, obvious mistake, right? When you die, you lose value, your team's at a disadvantage, deaths are bad, right? I think everyone understands that. So when we can cut back on deaths, that's a really good way to improve at the game. And honestly, that's a really easy way to self-improve at the game. So you can look at your own gameplay and go, okay, why did I die here? Right? Was I out of position? Did I maybe... Well, in Zenyatta, you don't really have to worry about abilities, but, some characters you can go, did I use my abilities wrong?
Right.
Was I, too aggressive? Was I too passive? Right? So you can look at deaths and think, okay, what did we do wrong in this instance? So in this instance, we can look at this death and go, okay, well, here we were out of position. We were too far out in the open. Therefore, had we been closer to cover, we could have survived. That means we do more damage, get more ult charge, get more kills in, right? Just means we do more overall.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is an excellent teacher.
I kept expecting someone to peek out of that door. That's what I'm looking for there.
Yeah.
This goes back to the spammy.
Yep, exactly. So that'd just be more of a situation where you're charging at the right click so that if they do peek, now you're able to basically one shot them, right? It's rather than them if they do peek, now you hit them with one single orb. The other thing is that you shooting at the doorway, especially when it's
not peek.
Exactly, right? It gives them an incentive to not actually turn around the corner.
Right. I made a tactical decision there. There was too much fire coming at that door, so I came around to the other side. Go on.
Yep, good decision. I like. There's nothing wrong with that.
Coach Kayla hated it. Look how many people are dead. She was like, "What are you doing?"
Okay, yeah. So I meant the I think the decision to walk around the other side was a good decision, but like she just said, yes, you need to make sure you're watching kill feed. So, has she talked with you about kill feed watching at all?
Yeah. We
so
over this. Yeah.
Just make sure you're paying attention to that, and then this way we don't end up, walking in, and then this is what you call like a stagger. Are you familiar with the term? Yeah. So that just wastes time. Again, it's another death. Lots of deaths. That means we just lose a lot of value.
Right. And then Mercy made a mistake here, according to Coach Kayla. Rezzing me. She shouldn't have rezzed me here.
Alright, so let's see what we do after we do get rezzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing you could have done really there. So like about 75% of deaths you'll be able to do something about. You can improve on them, but the other 25% of deaths, not really much you could have done. In that situation, Mercy put you in a bad position. That position wasn't by our own choice, so that meant that death wasn't really something we could have fixed.
Pain is an excellent teacher.
I tried to get the orb on her.
Yeah.
I didn't get it on her in time. That's why you see me turn a little bit towards her.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So far with orbs, it looks like we're pretty solid. We do seem to have a good grasp on putting, our Harmony Orb on our main tank, and then putting Discord Orbs on whatever we're shooting at. So far that is looking like a strong suit of ours.
Okay, let me ask you a question about that. I'm going to throw her under the bus again. So she doesn't want to see me, especially this Mercy that I was playing with was decent, and she was healing the tanks pretty well. So her point is, especially when the Mercy is nearby and healing the tanks, I need to be focused on healing damage. And
that's about the opposite role. Mercy is very good at healing damage, and Zenyatta more wants to focus on healing the tanks, mainly for the reason that they're the ones who... Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Mercy puts out so much more healing. I think that's her thinking on that.
Yeah, so Mercy puts out more healing, but she's also much... Mercy and Zenyatta, they're not a good support lineup because of the fact that they both don't really output a ton of burst healing, but both of them are really good for pocketing targets, right? They're very good at healing, especially DPS, right? So, for example, like Mercy is very good at pocketing people. That's why she's good at pocketing Pharah, good at pocketing Ashe. Same as Zenyatta. Zenyatta's pretty decent at pocketing some DPS. But a lot of the times, Zenyatta wants to just leave his orbs on tanks, as that opens up for him being able to, basically, that opens up for him to just do more damage, right? And tanks take the most damage, so that means that they are going to be giving you the most ult charge.
And you get your ults faster, yeah.
Exactly, and you get your ults faster. And so, essentially, the only times that... And that's not to say that you never swap to something else. You swap it to something else if they are, they actually are in danger and they need healing. If they're critical, you swap it if the fight's done and you're just getting some ult charge. Right, but besides that, you really want to, on Zenyatta, just leave it on the main tank. There are some instances where we're gonna put that on a different target. So if you have a bunch of flanker characters, so for example, if you have like a Tracer or a Genji or a Doomfist, those can be some good ones to put it on.
Right, because they love to get it, and they love to get that heal orb.
Yep, exactly. So Reaper could be decent in this scenario as well to put it on, because if he's going in aggressively. But Monkey would probably be just a really great target to keep it on, because he's the one who's going to be taking the most damage out of the whole team, and therefore would need the most healing. So even if Mercy's healing him, you can still have your orb on him healing him, right?
Right.
So, honestly, it could go either way. Both you and Mercy are good at healing DPS. So if you're healing the tanks, then the Mercy can heal the DPS. If you're healing the DPS, the Mercy can heal the tanks.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that was kind of her point, was that especially just moving it around more and making sure that as someone got healed, I'm on to the next target. I'm on to the next target, especially if I'm healing squishies, because it doesn't need to be on them for long.
Yeah. So yeah, especially when you're healing squishies, I would agree with that. So for example, like let's say you have a Mercy or a Reaper who's low, and you put the orb on them, and they get full HP. Well, now you can just swap it. Once you see that they're full, you swap it back to the main tank. But go ahead.
So you're pretty happy then with my basic orb selection here, where I'm putting the orbs. Okay.
She's coming from the mindset of a Mercy player, or even any other character. On Zenyatta, it's a slightly different, because on Zenyatta, the biggest part of your kit is your own damage and you shooting at stuff. So if the less time you're spending swapping orbs around continuously, the more time you have the damage. So that's why you leave it on the main tank, and then you swap it around when it's needed.
Gotcha.
Okay, a lot more out in the open positioning, right? Kind of look at where we're at.
Where I'm at, I'm terrible, yeah.
Yep, so that just, keeps us alive longer. On top of that, it seems like we're not using our ult too much. I think would you in this situation be saving it for the Sigma ult?
No, I'm holding it here for a team battle, is what I'm thinking. They were pushing. I was afraid that I wanted to get all the team together. And one of the things that I'm about to use it, and one of the things that I found was, as they were pushing it, and there weren't very many people on it, if I call that I'm going to do all, especially with this team, because I played with 3 of these guys, I played with 2 or 3 days. And it's 2 guys and a girl. Mm-hmm. And if I call that I'm going to Zen ult, they're really good about just grouping tight. I could call them all together. And so in a minute, I make the decision. I don't like how fast the payload's moving, because how close it is to the end. So I just jump on and ult, and it was, you'll see it here in a minute. It's a little bit early, but it gets everybody on the payload, and we win the payload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's seeming pretty solid. We'll have to see, how and when you use it. But in general, it's just a good idea not to hold on to ultimates for too long, because that just means that, in that same time, you probably could have had 2 or 3 times as many ultimates. Right?
No, absolutely. Because if you see, I use this one, and in this fight, I get 2 ults.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, which goes back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
That I should have used it sooner. I would have gotten 3.
Exactly. Yep. You get more, and then on top of that, just ults that aren't used don't get value, right? So all those fights that we had lost before this potentially become winnable had we used our ultimate, right?
Right. Use it faster.
So I think there
it is right there.
The main thing, I think we used it because we saw the Junkrat tire too.
Yeah, and you can't hear me, but I'm screaming at this point. Sort of. I'm yelling. I'm going, okay, everybody come to the point for heals, and just watch how the team just goes whoosh.
No.
And everybody's coming out. Everybody's coming out. Yep. And we actually kind of stopped the movement there.
Yep, which is really good. Yep, fantastic play there.
Positioning, again, I'm not very close to cover here.
So positioning matters a little bit less when you have kind of two factors here. First off, you're pretty heavily winning the fight. So if we take a look at how many people they have alive, right? In this situation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I think we have 6 people, right? And they have 3 people, right? Maybe 4 people. So Earhart talked with you about this, but 1 to 2 people's an advantage, 2 to 3 people's a 1 fight. At this point, we have pretty much won this fight. So that means that when you're winning or you have won a fight, you can afford to be much more aggressive with your positioning and push forward. And then on top of that, we also have like our entire team in front of us, which also allows for us to be a little bit more aggressive because we have them as a buffer in between us and the enemy team.
I got you.
Okay, probably just make sure we're discording the hog there.
Yeah. And I'm calling out, again, part of what you... I was so sad when I heard that it didn't record the communication because it was very good with this team.
So it seems like we spend a large amount of time just spamming in directions that are kind of incapable of hitting anybody, if that makes sense. So we spend a lot of time shooting at walls and at kind of up in the air, like so you can see here with our crosshair, like we're going to be shooting up here in a second, right? We're kind of shooting up in the air, and then we shoot here at the this pillar. Just like kind of watch where each of these shots go and where we're aiming, and it just this happens very frequently that I've noticed is that we're just kind of shoot at nothing really.
Because I do a lot of that. Can you get that, Cheryl? Okay, somebody else got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So if what you were about to say, maybe that you're just spamming to try to hit people when they come around?
Right. When I'm looking for corners, and this is something I need to work on. I'm much more precise even when I use Soldier. Even though he's got the machine gun, I'm looking for a target. I'm much more focused on placement. And I think part of the reason is what you talked about, the orb placement. I'm trying to keep the orbs going around, so I'm not as worried. Now, Coach Gerhardt thinks that what I was doing was I was only changing the orbs, or I was only thinking about it on a reload. So I would reload and then shift the orb. She thought she saw that pattern several times and said, you need to think about moving that orb faster.
Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on that then. I honestly, so far it hasn't seemed like your orbs have been too much of an issue.
Good.
But
glad to hear that.
Yeah, so looking at just shots in general, when you are doing spam shots or you are charging up a right click, make sure that our crosshair isn't on a solid object is the big one, right? So rather than
pointed someplace useful.
Exactly, right? So rather than having the crosshair right here on the pillar, we want to have our crosshair right here or right here on either side of the pillar, right?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that our crosshair, and this has been something that's been very frequent, is just keep your crosshair in good spots where it's going to actually hit something. And this is something that, this is how you can have decently good aim, even at a very old age, where you're not as fast with your reflexes, right? Because you're just using your brain to help your aim out, right? You're placing.
So what are you saying? I'm joking.
Yeah. So it's just an easy way to kind of use your brain, your very experienced brain to look at the game.
Yeah, I got it.
Alrighty. Oh, didn't mean to skip there. Just make sure that we're with our shots. We are a projectile character, so our shots have a travel time. Rather than kind of trailing behind someone, make sure we're aiming ahead of them or on top of them. Here we kind of just trail behind the hog with our shots.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to make sure we're doing that same trail. We want to do that same pacing, but just in front of him.
Right, ahead of him.
Or like right on the very front of his body.
Right. Yeah, leading the target. I get out of that. I saw that coming and I backed up out of that.
So here, probably be a good idea to make sure that your orb's going on not the Zarya here on another character, because Zarya is a tank, right? And therefore she has a lot more health. So if the Mercy and the Junkrat are both losing half of their health, right, half HP,
Yeah.
that means that they're in much more danger of dying, because Zarya will have 200 health, they'll
Right.
have less than 200 health, they'll have less than 100 health. So in this situation, probably want to keep our orbs on more towards the Mercy or the Junkrat.
Right.
Since we're talking about orbs, have you adjusted your orb sensitivity at all?
No. What does that mean?
So if you go to your, I don't know if you're in game or not. Are you?
I am.
You are, okay. So if you go to your controls,
Uh-huh.
all heroes, and then Zenyatta's at the very bottom of the list.
Of course. Yeah.
You have your Orb of Harmony and Discord sensitivities.
Okay.
So what this means is when this is at 100%, actually it's easier to say it at 10%. So 10% means that it's very, very specific to where your crosshair is. So we have to be looking directly on top of somebody for the orb to register. But if this is at 100%, it's very lenient, and it just places it at whoever's closest to us. It might not be too specific. So if you lower this, I recommend lowering this. I have mine at 50, but you can have this like 50 to 70-ish. Right?
So what's default?
What's default? Default is 100.
Oh.
Yep. So this can make it more precise if you're trying to get people in a crowd of people. So if if Mercy, Junkrat, and Zarya are all grouped up right here, you having a lower sensitivity might make it a little bit more easy to pick out somebody in that crowd.
Okay, let me switch over here. Just take a quick peek.
Yep.
Okay, so all heroes, Zenyatta. Just some training. Talk to Kayla about it.
Wait, talk to her about what?
No, I was talking to someone behind me. My my wife walked up behind me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's all the way at the bottom. I just meant that she could explain it, what I was doing. Not too bad. Darn it! Oh no! Did I select Zenyatta? I did. So hero. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, it's set to 100. Boy, I definitely like that a little. Okay, so right now it's 100, so I could just be pointed in the general direction. It's going to just select one of them.
Yeah, it's going to be more. I found that I think it's basically more towards what's close to you rather than what's closest to your crosshair.
So let's just change that to like 70 for now, and let me see if I can get used to that.
Yep.
I mean, that'll help narrow it down a little bit.
Exactly.
And I'll lower it some more as I get used to that. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Yep, spammy.
Yep.
And I'm not shooting anything.
So, yeah, I've noticed that we don't really right-click very often. Usually, you're about even with them. With left-click and right-click. It's very situational based. Neither is more powerful than the other. They both have their correct uses, though.
Yeah.
So, in general, it seems like we are pretty much like, I don't know if I've seen this like, I saw this like a few times right-clicking, but it's more like 90% left-clicking. So we want to make sure that just whenever we can't actively be shooting at something, when we're moving into a fight, when the round's first starting, when we're backing up, when we're around the corner, right, we're charging up a right-click so that we can do a big burst damage when we see somebody.
Yeah. I'm sorry about all the coughing. I was
you're good.
COVID positive. Yeah, that soldier up there, I saw him and I was yelling about him, and that was a perfect example. The Reaper just went straight up there and killed him.
Nice.
Teleported up there and zapped him.
Alrighty. So, looking at our death here, we'll see if you're able to spot why we end up dying here, and then this is an easy way that you can look to replicate this while you're in the middle of a game and self-improve off of it. So why do we die here?
Backing up. Oh, I'm dead right there?
Yep, you're dead.
But I'm pretty far back. I guess I had to move back to get cover. I'm probably in the the open area there too much.
Yep, we're out in the open, and then on top of that, we were just a little too far forward in front of our team. So Zenyatta wants to be a little bit further back, and here we're down. Our Winston's dead, right? If we watch top right.
Yeah.
So we don't have a main tank, which means that essentially we don't have any damage protection. We just have our Zarya, and that's it. So we just want to make sure we're playing very passive, and we're trying to back up here a little bit. We're paying very close attention to our cover usage.
And your point is, I'm not backing up fast enough.
Yes, exactly, right. So we're not backing up fast enough, and then we're also just a little too far on the open, and then that results in us dying. Right. So whenever most of our deaths have been positional based, which just means that that's a big thing to work on, because if we can cut out a lot of our deaths, like each death is 10 seconds of respawn time, 10 seconds of walk back time, right? So if we can cut out like 3 of those or something like that per game, that's an extra like minute of time that we're active in fights, right?
I gotcha. Yeah, just staying alive longer.
Yep, exactly. It's big improvement. All right.
There's a really awesome scene coming up here. I want to point it out. I'm sure you'll see it, but where the Winston totally saves my ass.
Nice. Yep. So just here, there's some more like kind of us spamming
it's
at
the same
nothing.
Thing, right? Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm spamming at nothing. Okay.
Spamming at walls here, up in the ceiling, up in the air, right?
Yeah. Golly.
Yep, just want to make sure, because there we spent kind of a solid, not with our orbs per se, but we just spent like a solid 5-10 seconds just really shooting at nothing, right? So we want to make sure that time is better spent aiming down where people are, right? They're all in that same exact little area, right? So we want to make sure that our crosshairs on that spot, because that's where they all are at, that we're placing our crosshair in the good position, and that we're not just shooting up in the air and just spamming, because we can use that time to reload, use that time to charge our right clicks.
And it's okay here, but it wasn't for the previous 10 seconds. That's your point.
Exactly. It's okay when you're shooting at people, right? When you're shooting at shields, when you're shooting in the general direction of people, because here we're actually probably going to hit some stuff. Great, right? We hit Sigma right there, right? So now we're actually doing some spam that matters, whereas the previous 10 seconds was spam that wasn't even in the general direction of anybody. Right. So, okay, so here we're in a pretty poor position there. We kind of get bailed up by our monkey. You can see our kind of positioning here on the right side just means that, we don't really have anywhere to go. So we're a little too, we kind of go right side a little too far. Whereas, you sitting on the left side gives you a lot more cover to work with. And
right. I was kind of trying to hide behind the corner, but your point is it's too thin over there.
Yep. And on this side, like if they push us, we don't have anywhere to back up to. And on top of that, it separates us from our team, right? They can't help us too easily if they kind of walk in on top of us, right? So usually we're not going to want to hold like the opposite side of our team, and we kind of want to go with the curve here in the road. So there's not much cover to work with over there.
Right. Yeah, there I am, way over to the right again. Yeah. Trying to get the orb on there. Yep, there I got it.
Okay. Probably say that probably be a decent spot to be using Transcendence. So, in general, it's the Transcendence is a defensive ultimate. So you have certain ultimates on the enemy team that are going to be really, really powerful sometimes, right? So you have Sigma Flux is a big one.
Let me ask you a question. So you like the Transcendence up against the Sigma ult?
Yes, it is a very good, because Sigma ult is a very powerful ultimate that does half damage to everybody. So if everyone's getting half damage, that's a really powerful thing. So for some other powerful ones would be like Graviton Surge, Zarya's Grab, Nano Blade, or even just a regular blade. So those are powerful ultimates and combos that Transcendence is going to be, we might want to even hold on to Transcendence for them, because that's almost a guaranteed loss if we don't use it. So in this instance, Transcendence would have one, kept us alive.
But I don't have it here, right?
Oh, you do have it.
I don't have it yet.
Let's look at you do have it.
Oh, I do. See, I've already gotten it back from, remember where I used it before?
Yep. So we had it. We had it like at some point over here. So we get it right about here. So just make sure that with your awareness that you're paying attention to your ult charge, because whenever we're at like 90% to our ult, or even sometimes even before that, we can be thinking about how we're going to be using it, right? We can kind of think about what do we want to do with this. So a big part of that's paying attention to, what ultimates on the enemy team do we want to use Transcendence for. Sometimes if they don't have those big ultimates, we just use it whenever our team needs it, right? If let's say they did not have or they didn't have a Sigma Flux here on their team, they don't really have any big ultimates that we need to hold on to Trans for. So therefore, we would just use it anytime we have a bunch of critical teammates, right? So here in this situation, we probably just want to use it because that's going to keep us alive, give us more survivability, and then on top of that, that keeps our team alive and allows them to get aggressive, right? And then it also means that we don't hold on to it and we actually get the value out of it. Besides just using Transcendence here, we're also like kind of doing a wide peek right here, and that's how we die. In this situation, we kind of wide peek right again, right? We you see we drift off to the right.
I'm trying to get the Discord over there on that guy.
Yep.
Sometimes people will run away if they get the orb.
Yeah. Which, that's fine because then they're out of the fight for that time, right? So then you just apply it to the next thing you're shooting at.
Right.
So yeah, just more out in the open. All right, so that's maybe like the sixth death or something like that we've had, just because just because of positioning us out in the open, and then that means that that's a whole lot of deaths that we can just cut out on, and deaths. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. When we're down a person, that's putting our team at a disadvantage, right? So not only is that death just killing us, that's also putting our team at a pretty significant disadvantage at the very start of the fight. So if we don't die here, that means that our team not only is not at the disadvantage, we also put our team at the advantage because now we have Transcendence available and we have our Discord Orb and we have all the stuff that we output. So just death's not very great. Want to work on keeping ourselves alive longer. Right, and then now our team's losing the fight. Probably very, very winnable if we had our...
This is it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, this fight, we were losing the fight. Probably very winnable, though, if we had used Transcendence. What were you going to say?
I think this is the one where they called it. Go ahead and play it. Let's see if I use it right here. Yeah. See how I popped it way early?
Yeah.
They called that. Somebody said, come out with it on. Get on the payload with it on. So I just popped it right there to get on the payload really quick.
Did it happen to be the Reaper there?
I don't remember who it was.
Who it was?
But
okay.
I'm coming out, and someone goes, pop your ult on your way out, get on the payload, just go straight to the payload.
What makes this a really great play is the fact that you're you're using your ult to prop up the Reaper's ult. So I think Reaper might be the one calling this, because you see he's on the top right now. On your high ground, and he's just trying to chill in there. So he's waiting for something.
I see up there.
Yeah, he's kind of waiting on something, and I would think that maybe if he was the one called this is a really good play, because you ult and then watch him. He goes in and he ults here, and he gets a bunch of kills. Right, he gets 2 things.
Yeah.
Right, and then maybe
they can't kill him, of course, while I'm
exactly ulting. Right. So that was a really good combo play that you guys made. Honestly, that was fine. It's usually, sometimes people have good calls, sometimes they won't. It's really up to your discretion of, is that a good call? In this situation, that was pretty decent. That wasn't a bad play at all. Right. Make sure that when we're ending Transcendence.
There it is.
Oh, Monkey saved you. Yeah.
Monkey saved me. I don't know. You can see the blast of the tire right in front of. He puts down the shield, and then the tire goes off. Boom! And it's like, he totally saved me.
When did... He dropped the bubble before. You walked backwards into it. That's funny.
Yeah, but it was just... Oh, I did. I backed right up. Yeah.
Alrighty. So,
but I saw that during the game. I was aware of that. I'm like, oh, he saved me.
All right, so here with our transcendence, make sure that at the last 2 or 1 second that
Yeah.
you're using that last little second while you're invincible to get back to good positioning rather than just sitting out in the
Right.
open. Because here we kind of chill and we chill and then we chill and then now we're ending the transcendence in a position that's maybe not the best, right? Preferably we'd be ending it and backing up a little bit, like getting further back, closer to cover. Rather than being on top of cart. So we just want to make sure that, we're not invincible after we come out of it. So we need
So
to...
this is something I struggle with in bronze for myself.
Mhm.
Because people don't play as objective centric as I think they should.
Mhm.
No matter what job I'm in, I try to focus on the objective. So I end up with gold objective time like almost every time I play.
So when you're on
I know
defense...
that's not right. I know
Yeah.
that's not right.
Exactly. So when you're on defense, usually supports very rarely want to touch cart. The only time that you should ever be touching cart on defense as a support is if they're about to cap the point and you have nobody else who can touch and you're just trying to stall. So for example here, like if this is the last fight here and they're about to get
It's
this
close.
and you're the only one, it's about to be the end of the round and you're the only one who can touch it, then you go. Besides that, on defense, not too much of a reason for you to go. When you're pushing cart on attack, then you can be sitting on cart. That's fine. But other than that, defense is going to be a lot really risky for you when, again, like we talked about, you're a mid-range character. You're not a close-range character. And
Right.
if they're all sitting on cart, Zenyatta, Hog are on cart, right? If they're all sitting on cart, then that puts us at a close range with people and kind of in the line of fire of a lot of dangerous activity.
Right.
Whereas we could just be putting ourselves at a little bit of a medium distance. Like for example, they're not about to push cart in and win here. Cart's really far away. We're winning the fight, or we pretty much have won the fight.
Right.
So in this instance, us being on cart isn't necessary.
Isn't important, yeah.
Yep. Alright, so we get saved.
Yeah. More spam.
Yep. In general, I think mechanics is one of the bigger just things that to work on with your kit, and you're gonna find a lot of value out of just making sure you're really focusing in on that, because that's all not just an important thing that you're struggling with, but that's also one of the core essential pieces in Zenyatta's kit. Him just hitting shots and doing damage is like one of the most important things. There's essentially Zenyatta only has 3 things in his kit, right? He has his orbs, he has his trance, and he has his shooting, right? Shooting is a very, very big part of his kit, and when we're missing like most of our shots, that means we can't really do much. So we want to make sure we're focusing in on that.
I think we've got one more fight here.
Yep.
Shoot on that shield a little bit.
Alright. Charge and right clicks, time when we can't see people.
Right.
Other than that, we didn't make too many big mistakes there. And it seems like we do have a very good general awareness of what our team's up to. Most of the time we do see when people are critical, we put orbs on them when they do need it. So that awareness seems very high. Just haven't seen too many headshots so far, right? Which just means that, very big lack of damage output. Okay, so in this instance, again, kind of caught out in the open. On top of that, when we're looking for transcendence, and we see that we're like 87%, right? And this is, and we might want to use it this fight. Maybe we see they used They use Visor here. They use another ultimate in a second, I think. Or maybe they don't use it, but we see some critical people on our team. This is an instance where we could probably just like be spamming Q, right? Just like press the button so that as soon as we get it, we're transcendencing immediately, right? So that means like we get this like the millisecond before we die. If we're spamming Q, then we possibly get trans here. Now that's just a good habit to get into it, but if you know that you want to use it, but besides that, just we end up dying again because we're out in the open, away from cover, and then that means that we end up dying. All right. All right. Now this one's a hard because we get res, but we're also on the open. So in this instance, let me bring us back like a second here. Let's see. We get res. Rather than walking into them, the best thing to do probably would be to try to back up. So actually, this is a very difficult situation because you only have one. Okay, so I would say that this is an instance where a lack of hesitation is a very good thing because this is very up in the air whether or not you should be doing this or not. So it's just a good idea to not hesitate and just make the decision yes or no with transcending here.
Yeah.
So that you're gonna find that a lot. Just most of the time, just make sure you're not hesitating when it comes to your ultimate because it's better to look at it after the fact and go, snap, that was a bad ult, or yes, that was a good ult, than to kind of hesitate with it, and then either way it goes, that just makes it worse, right? So
I remember what I was thinking here. I got rezzed, and then the hog hit his ult right in my face.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to die again. So I hit the ult, and I just ran straight to the payload to hesitate the payload. And Coach Earhart didn't like that because she doesn't like me using the ult defensively to hold the payload. She was like,
typically,
it's not going to hold it very long.
Yeah, typically that's not the purpose that you should be seeking it out for. You want to use it for a different reason, but that is something that you can do with it. But it's not essentially that shouldn't be your main goal when using a trance, right? Because that's only stopping it for 5-6 seconds.
Right.
So that shouldn't, when you're popping trance, that shouldn't be your number one objective in mind. Though it can be a thing that you can do. So in this instance, we just kind of walk forwards a little bit. That's the one thing that we probably did wrong was we probably should have just backed up slightly. And see and like pay attention to our team. If any of us were in danger of dying here, I probably would trance just to keep them alive. Because if any of us die here, we probably won't be coming back out in time to because of how close payload is. We probably won't be coming back out in time to actually get a full team fight in, which is the hard thing about this. So there, I think trancing is okay. It's fine. We maybe just should have backed up a little bit rather than running straight towards them.
Well, that ult pushed me, but I ran out and touched the payload.
Other thing is, again, make sure that when we're ending trance, that we're ending it in a good spot. We're not ending it right inside of them, right? So we kind of end it inside of them and then try to run away and then we die, right? So the problem there was that we ended trance inside of them. Make sure when you're ending you're backing up. All right. So now, okay, so we're gonna go over a review here.
Just to tell you the end of that, we held them. This is one of those things that Kayla was telling me about. I'm going to be really mad if you win this. We end up winning this. We won that battle too. We held them before they hit the third point.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we were able to hold them off, and then on top of that, the next round we win. But go ahead.
Yep, so essentially we're just going to do a quick review of all the different areas that we talked about, and then on top of that, just go over the main points that you should probably be looking to work on. So starting with ability usage, honestly, orbs are looking pretty fine. Just some, you always want to get more consistent on things, so there are is one of the stronger suits that you have. It's probably one of the best parts of your kit that you have. It's just, again, it needs a little bit of work to just get more consistent, right, to make it better. Discord orbs, just make sure those have been looking pretty good. Just make sure you're constantly having it applied. You always want it on something, and whenever you're shooting at something, you want it on them. Harmony orbs, pretty much just make sure that you're leaving it on your main tank unless somebody's low or needs healing or is in danger, or if the fight's done, you can heal them. If you have flanker characters, you can have it on those guys. If you have somebody who's ulting, you can have it on them. So essentially, it's just main tank unless something else, right? Unless there's another reason not to. Whenever you're, if you have somebody who's low and then you heal them back at the full HP, right? So if somebody's low, you heal them back up, then just reapply it back to your main tank. We'll say they're the main tank, right? So we put it on somebody else. They get full HP. We're shooting, and then once they're back to full, then we can reapply. Right. Now ultimate usage. I think that we had some pretty well timed ones in the middle of fights, though. I probably would say just make sure you're not holding on to them, as holding on to them means you get less value.
I have some better ones. I have some better ones in the next half, but I understand we're running out of time.
Exactly, and I would go longer, but then I feel like Kayla would get mad just because she wanted, to be like not abusing me, and I feel like that might be giving you some special, extra time might be her idea of that.
No. She's not. She was so grateful that you gave her basically free coaching that she wanted to make sure that you felt like you were getting at least a 2-for-1.
All right.
So yeah, and it's whatever. I mean, like I said, I'm terrible, so. Half a match is you're not going to see anything different in the second half unless you just want to very quickly go through it. The fight changed a lot in the sense that one of our tanks switched to Diva. You didn't notice this or point it out, but the Reinhardt showed up late, and it's because remember I said that I was in a group of 3 that I regularly play with. The last few days I've been regularly playing with. Well. He picked Diva, but he's his main Diva, and he's really good at Diva. Well, on defense, the other people that were in our group said, well, no, we want to ride. We want to ride. So he switched. So he arrived late. He arrived late to the first battle. Well, right away, I was standing out in the open with no Ryan in front of me, even. That Ryan shows up later.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, I don't think.
Yeah, no. And when they showed up, Kayla's like, Where was that Ryan? Where did he come from? And I said, he was late. She goes, what? Why were we even fighting? Why were we back on the point? Waiting for him to get there. And I said, well, and then I explained it to her. So then there was some other timing stuff, and then, in the second half. But I think, we've done plenty, and I don't want to take advantage of you either. So whatever you feel like, Yeah,
I wouldn't take it as taking. I would 100% not feel like that as taking advantage of me, but I also want to make it fair in the maybe the I don't know if she's there with you, but maybe the case.
She's not.
Okay, yeah. Just in case she was, gonna come in and say, "Why did you give my dad an extra hour? What are you doing?"
Oh no.
All right,
no. In fact, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna continue. Do you continue? Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, that's it. That is it.
Oh, that's it. All right. Let's go then. All right, so ultimate usage, make sure you're using it frequently, and you're not holding on to it, that way you get more value. At the very end of your trance, use the last little skip and a hop to get over to cover so you're not out in the open, so we can trance, dance around for our team, make sure you're not ending it in the middle of their team, and then with the last second we can use it to get over to cover, right? Now, on to some of the more pressing matters. I'd probably say mechanics is one of the biggest things that we could work on. Lower that sensitivity, try to get your aim a little bit more precise, because it feels like our aim is very swingy, and it's hard to aim just because of how, and I understand that. I used to have a very high sensitivity back when I first started playing. Very swingy, it's very hard to hit shots. So lower that down, it'll make you a little bit more precise, because when you have a lower sensitivity, every single little movement is slower and more easily able to hit. Now, on top of that, just make sure you're aiming at head level. It's not real life, so this is an important thing in the video game of Overwatch. Now, on top of that, make sure that you are not just holding down your left click that you are appropriately using your left click and your right click. So anytime you can't see somebody, we're charging this up so that we can turn the corner and burst them down, right? Rather than just constantly holding this down even when we can't see people. Make sure you're keeping your crosshair in the best place possible so you can hit easiest shots. So rather, if we can't see anybody, make sure instead of spamming at walls or just anything that you can't actually hit somebody through, that we're spamming down places where there's actually going to be somebody. So we're holding on right click and we're waiting for them to turn that corner, right? So that when they do, we hit the shots, right? So we're spamming down actual lanes where people can stand rather than hitting into random objects that we can't shoot through. Now, on top of that, we'll go on to positioning. Positioning is the other big one that we want to work on. Want to make sure that we're standing next to cover. Now in the open, we had a ton of deaths that just got caused from the fact that we were out in the open and we didn't have a way to stop damage from coming in on us. And on Zenyatta, we don't have any movement. We don't have any self-healing besides our shields regenning. We don't have like a way to self-sustain. He's like one of the easiest characters to kill in the game. One of the best ways that you can just stay alive longer is by making sure we're being very careful with our positioning. So stay next to cover, use high ground, so those are going to be pretty decent for you. Make sure you're staying behind your team, you're not walking too far forward ahead of them. Now moving on to awareness, make sure you're paying attention to kill feed. If you're up 1 to 2 people, that's an advantage. Down 1 to 2, that's a disadvantage. Up 2 to 3 people, that's a win. Down 2 to 3, that's a loss, right? And then that just means that, that'll affect how aggressive you're playing. That'll affect how much you can get away with when you're playing aggressive or passive. Make sure you actually, when it comes to awareness, you have a very good grasp on what your team's up to, and you do pay attention to teammates that need healing. But we also want to make sure that we're paying attention to all the aspects of our kit, of paying attention to when do we have transcendence, what health what are we at in health wise, how much time they have left on the time bank, and then just make sure we're paying attention where enemies are at too, because it seems like in general we're just with our crosshair, we don't really have it focused in on enemies. So rather than just letting it float around on nothing, try to really make sure you're focusing in so that you're keeping your crosshair in the general vicinity of the red blob.
I got it.
All right, so now main points, probably say number 1 is going to be we'll put number 1 at positioning, not because mechanics isn't the big issue. Mechanics is probably the biggest problem that you have, but positioning is also probably the easier one to fix.
Be a little more precise. When you say mechanics, you're talking about
aiming. Hitting
stuff?
Yep. Mechanics is you shooting, like basically your ability to aim and shoot at stuff.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how I developed into this, but for some reason, I play Soldier differently than I play Zen. And I think it's laziness, because what happens is I started playing Zen back when they nerfed Soldier like 3 or 4 times in a row. I got so pissed. I got so upset about it. I'm just like, I'm done with Soldier for now. I'm going to learn something else. And I picked Zen because he was kind of a damage-oriented support. And so this was even back before he got his buffs. And so I realized that the most important part of what I was doing in Bronze that people were responding to was calling the Discord orbs. People would respond to that. I started winning more games as Zen, and I was even winning as Soldier.
Yep, I mean, like
people would listen.
Exactly, that is a very good call out to learn. There's also a few other call outs that that you can work on as well. Like for example, we talked a bit about how to know whether or not you're winning or losing fights, right? I probably say that is one of the biggest call outs that you can make in ranked Overwatch. Telling
we're done. Everybody back up.
Exactly. Saying, no, you just say, no ults, we've lost the fight. No ults, we've won the fight, right? Because, when you've won and you've lost, you don't want to use any more ultimates, and that can stop your team from over-ulting in a situation where you don't need it. And then on top of that, you can get your team to not stagger, right? So calling when fights are won and lost is really, really massive one, and then it also gets you to be aware. If you're calling it more often, you'll pay attention to it more often as well. You know, if you probably want to, there's a bunch of other call outs. If you love calling out stuff, we can at some point talk more about calling out because there's a lot more that you can do. I just would say that some of them are just a little bit more advanced than bronze level. So work on some other stuff, and then maybe next time we'll be able to talk about some of the call outs.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So
right.
main points. Positioning number 1, just because it's a little bit easier to work on the mechanics. Mechanics being number 2, and then on top of that, positioning affects your mechanics. When you're dead, you can't shoot stuff, right? So positioning is going to have a big impact on your game. So positioning number 1, mechanics number 2. We're going to put probably transcendence usage at number 3, and then just number 4 is just a mix of your ability usage and your awareness, just getting those to be more consistent. All right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the order you want to work on things. Do you have any questions on anything that we've gone over?
No. I appreciate your time. What I'd like to do is, if you want, let's just watch the rest of the fight like on 2x, or just go through it real quick, and we'll try not to stop on every little detail, but I kind of want to give you an idea just of how we finished the fight. I think I did some other stuff that was okay, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So just watch the rest of it, but like on like 2x or something.
All right, where?
Because it's the whole second half. We were like really close to the end.
Yeah, we were right here, I think.
Yeah, it was the fight was almost over. I think just kind of let it run on 2. That's where at the end where I do that ult, and so they push it. They get past this turn.
Oh, Junkrat kills everything. Reaper kills everything.
That's right.
DPS just fragged.
Right. They went off. So we're standing there literally with nothing to do, and the round ends. And then we had a couple of people. Then they had a really cool discussion. I was so mad that they didn't get the audio. We had a really cool discussion about what people were going to play. Here's where I thought. Different people said, "Here's where I thought we had a problem. What can we do to fix that?" And nobody got pissy.
Yeah.
And nobody got their head bit out of shape. Our tank switches to his main, that CSWM guy up there.
Yeah.
He switches to his main tank, which is Diva, and then we go. And I just, one of the things I get a lot of compliments on in game, especially at bronze level, is my communication. And this didn't record any of that. I was sad about that, because this team was a good example of how it makes it work.
Yeah. Communication is a very, very powerful tool. That's like, when I talk about communication with people.
You can let this run here.
What do you say?
Yeah, you can let this run. Just let this run.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to take too long on it. Yeah.
When I talk about communication with people, I call it like verbal carrying, right? You can do a very, very large job just by telling your team how to play, right? So if you have a good game understanding or knowledge, you communicating is a very useful tool. Yeah.
So I'm out in the open. Still same problems as the first round, of course.
Yep. Got a little bit aggressive there after we were down 2 people. We kind of had the opposite there. We played a little too far back to start off there. When our team is pushing in, we want to make sure we're a little bit closer, because again, we're not a sniper. On top of that, we walk in after we're down some players, right? So that means that we weren't paying attention to kill feed, or we didn't see them die in front of us. So just make sure you're playing more passive and you're getting out when you're down people.
Oh, I right-clicked there.
No, yeah, we did it.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. I right-clicked there. It was just as I was coming around the corner, I held it because I knew that they were going to be there. And so I held it as I walked into it. But again, not happening enough.
Yep. Oh, we're doing it again?
Yep. And I get a kill there. Is that the one where... No, I killed
No, I didn't rewind it enough.
Okay. At one point, on one of those right clicks, I killed the other Zen. But yeah, it's good. Oh, this was a tough fight. I was so mad. And this Junkrat here, I got him orbed. I'm screaming into the mic. Kill the junk. And Coach Kayla paused it there, and we had, she pointed out the kill feed. See, we got 3 down. and the Moria was phased, the Reaper was phased, and the D.Va was jumping out of the mech. When I was screaming for this guy to die, I was the only one that could have possibly have killed the Junkrat.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, what do you need to be aware of that. Everybody's dead or otherwise, involved.
Yep.
So go ahead, let it go.
And then on top of that, right, if we just, improve on our mechanics just a little bit and we hit one more shot here, he dies, right?
Yeah, he dies. I've got him. I was so frustrated that I couldn't hit him. Yeah, so we end up losing this one, and then we come back. And then I couldn't believe it. We win it on this round, and the reason we won it is because we kind of win an early fight right here. See, oh, there it is. Is that the kill? They got a quick kill there, but we end up winning this fight. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. And then if you watch you can see their player images. Yeah. They run away. They gave it up because they were aware they were down. So they pulled back. They all pulled back and let us have it.
Yep. Awareness you don't usually find in Bronze.
What's that?
Awareness you don't usually find in Bronze.
Right. And that's what that's what they were saying. But yeah. So then the other thing I wanted to kind of show you was just the very, very end, how we just won the match was pure freaking luck.
Or you want to skip to that?
Yeah, just let it go.
All right.
Yeah. Even a little further than that. Because this is a hard fight. We almost don't get this. We get through here, and then right at the end, it's coming right up. So I've got alt again. I'm probably sitting on it too long, and then I hit it because I'm afraid. I hit it because I was afraid the tanks were going to die.
Yeah.
And then he sends that and kapow.
Oof. All right. Yeah. So when we hit this, I think that's actually fine because we used it when they're using a ton of ults. So if we listen, they used Visor. They use. Did they use Soul Hog yet? Or no? They used Visor there. So maybe the only thing you could have been more aware of was the fact that they were shattered. Pay attention to Reinhardt's health because just because they visor, just because they visor doesn't guarantee that everyone's gonna die because visor isn't as powerful an ultimate as some of the other ones because you have shields, you can be around corners, right? So we just want to pay attention to people's health bars. So here that was maybe a little bit too early, right?
Yeah.
And then he ended up shattering everyone, so he didn't even need it in the first place, right?
Right, and then the D.Va pops in there.
Ooh, and then got to everyone.
And that was it. They couldn't even get back out in time.
Yep.
Because we were right there.
Big bomb, yeah. And then you can see everyone else struggles with the same positioning stuff when you land that bomb. You can look at all their positioning, and they're probably all out in the open.
Right down that no man's land, way out. Hanging out there in the
look at Orisa. They're all just standing all out in the open, and then the bomb just goes boom and gets everyone.
Yeah, crunch.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Just feel free to message
work on
me.
That stuff.
Feel free to message me if you have any other questions that just pop up in the meantime. All right.
Well, me. What I'll do is I'll go down and I'll say, "Hey, Caleb, message to Boogie." I promise not to bug you too much about that. Okay, well, you're very good at this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your help. I'll let you get out of here and get back to playing. Earhart was mad at me. She says, "Golly, if he's working with you, I won't get to play with him till 9." So,
yep, no problem. And thank you very much for the compliment.
You're very welcome. All right, you have a nice night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
I was expecting more prison metaphors.
What?
I was expecting more prison metaphors, Earhart.
I'm sorry.
I'm mad. Oh, I didn't start the recording.